Control room, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, we'll do a countdown, Mr. Chair.
Please continue.
3, 2, 1.
I hereby declare the Candiac County Board of Commissioners is now in session. If you all will please stand as we say the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. Just for the record, it is April 5th, 2022, and I'd like to welcome all those people who may be live streaming the meeting as well as watching on YouTube, and appreciate your interest in Candiac County government. Also appreciate the individuals in the audience here for, I believe most of you are here for the bids and opening of the bids, and I want to thank you ahead of time for your interest in our doing business here in Candiac County, and we very much appreciate that. The first item of business today is to do the approval for the consent agenda. We have 4 items, especially I'll mention those for the people who may be watching us online. One is approving the minutes from March 15th. The other one is approving the bills and the warrants and the claims, as well as a gambling permit, and I believe that's one permit that comes up every year, and 2 renewal liquor license approvals. Is there any short questions about this consent agenda, or does anybody want to pull something from the agenda? Commissioner Nissen.
I will move the consent agenda.
Okay.
I'll second that.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen and a second by Commissioner Anderson to approve the consent agenda. No further discussion, understand? I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Next on the agenda, I would like to notice and mention to the group that we have our public hearing concerning Candiac County redistricting. And at this point, I will recess the Candiac County Board of Commissioners and open the Candiac County Board for a public hearing concerning the redistricting. And I would like to call on Administrator Kleindahl to give us a quick update and an overview, and then we'll ask to see if anybody's in the audience who wants to speak.
Sure.
Please proceed.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, the meeting is not closed. This is part of our county board.
It is. Well, okay. Take that back.
Mr. Chair, just for the public, I'll do the introduction for the public hearing, and then I'll allow the public to answer any questions or give comments that they may have. Just so for the record, the public notice was posted in the legal newspaper as required. Those postings have taken place, and they in those instructions, it was asked that they had any written comments or they want to make any documentations, they send any letters, they could send them to the Candiac County Administrator's Office at 2200 23rd Street Northeast in Wilmer, Minnesota. So, Mr. Chair, let me just start out a little bit and give a little history about the redistricting. Part of the reason we're here today is in 2020, the United States did its census, and part of the census is to track populations and where the growth and growth is taking place in the county and our precincts in the city, and also talk about where population decline has gone. And the intent of that is so when we have an understanding of who's living where and where is everybody located, where are the services needed. So part of that process then after that has taken place, after the count has taken place, then we have to make sure, as the United States government requires, is that we have equal representation. We want to make sure that our citizens have representation in the areas that they live. And so this is where redistricting comes in. They look at where our population is at. Are the population numbers equally divided and spelled out in a way that everybody has equal population? So what we do in Candiac County, what we did, is we found out our population went up to 43,732 people. We have 5 county commissioners. So you take that number and you divide it by 5. That number comes out to 8,746. So intent is is you want to get as close as to that number for each of the 5 commissioners in our county. And so that's the first thing we look at. Where is those populations at? When we look at those populations, we want to make sure that when we talk about the boundaries, we want to make sure that the districts and stuff are uniform. They're contingent. You can't have a commissioner covering one corner of the county and an opposite corner without touching. They have to be touching. Okay? And they have to be a way that they're all in a way that people have access to back and forth. Then you take that number and you divide it and you get the 10%, and that's 874. And then we take that down one other step, and it comes down to 400 by 5%, and that comes to 437. That's the number each of you have to try to be in the realm of. Well, when we got the numbers back from the 2020 census, we realized that District 3 and District 5 populations were not in sync. We noticed that District 5 lost population and therefore had less numbers. And we noticed that District 3 had grown in size and had more numbers that were not in its means. Which means that we had to come up with a plan of how to balance those out. And so the first thing we did is we started looking at the general county maps. And we worked with the city, I want to back up a little bit. We also worked with the city of Wilmer, and we looked at the precincts and wards within the city of Wilmer. So districts 1 and 2 are mainly all in the city of Wilmer, and District 3 has a part of the city of Wilmer. In working with District 1 and 2, the city of Wilmer notified us that they would like to make an adjustment, and I'll show you on this here map, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. It's easier to see this way. So this is District 3, right up in here. You can see it's highlighted. District 1 and 2 is right here. This is about 81 people right in. Can you see that? It's just a little bump out. I'm going to zoom in for the people at home, so just so you can see it at home a little closer. So the city of Wilmer adjusted these 2 wards and precincts. They said to the county that they would like to put this one in District 1 from District 3, put this from District 2 into District 1. And so what that did, the city of Wilmer is recommending Ward 3, Precinct 2 be added to Ward 1, Precinct 2, which is 203 people. And part of Ward 2, Precinct 3, be moved to Ward 2, Precinct 1, and that's 81 people. So this is 203 people, and this is 81 people. And that would give District 1 284 people more in their population, and would put that population at 8,653. That also lowers District 2 population by 284, which brings their population to 8,470. So that's Districts 1 and 2. There was their adjustments that they're recommending on that. The city of Wilmer has already passed their wards and precincts and certified their redistricting. So there's not a lot we can do with what they have accomplished. They have, by law, what happens is that the federal government does it first, the state does it third, the city does it next, then it's the county, then the schools, and soil and water. So that's District 1 and 2.
Mr. Kleindahl?
Yes.
Would this be a time, or are you going to address that later too, that the voting site for Ward 3, I believe it is being moved to Robbins Island from the high rise, and that was set up by the city?
Mr. Chair, when we get to the resolutions, in the resolutions, they're all the voting precincts, or where the voting is in the resolution.
Okay. I'm just for the public.
Yep, and if there's any questions, Mr. Thompson has those right as his fingertips. Okay, so to go back and looking at where we're at, we put together two options for District 3 and District 5, or District 3 and District 5. District 4, I'm not mentioning it because there was no change that would affect anything within redistricting. District 4 Commissioner remains in. Also, for the records of for the public hearing, I should note that there was no elected official that was involved in putting these maps together. This was done by non-elected people. We did have an information meeting on February 23rd where the public was able to come and give input and some feedback about the city redistricting maps and the county redistricting maps. And we also have been talking about this at the county board since January, and all the maps have been up here at a public viewing and downtown, so the public has had an opportunity to view them. So the first option that we first talked about was on District 5 is adding St. John's, Mamre, and the city of Pennock. And you look at the numbers and stuff, and that would have brought District 3 within 353 of the goal, and District 5 within 305. But in discussions, as we were going through this through our regular county board meetings and talking about options and what we're looking at, we also looked at option B, and this probably makes the numbers a little bit more closer and least change. And one of the things you want to do as we're working with elected offices is we want to have as little disruption as possible. Okay? You try to make the changes as minimal as possible so the people who are voting for the commissioners that are used to voting for, there's not that much change. And also you want to spread out the representation as much as possible. And I think option 2 really does that. And option 2 does everything. It adds St. John's and Pennock, but does not add Mamre.
Could you zoom that out a little bit?
Huh?
Could you zoom that out?
Sure, thank you. So here's the line now. Comes down here and then across and up like that. Where before it went up to Mamre and then down. So, Mr. Chair, those are options. I talked about a little bit about the process, about redistricting, about how we've talked about it, how we published it, how the public since January has been able to come and look at the maps, both here and downtown. And so that is my introduction to our redistricting plan. And so at this time, I would step away and if there's any public comment.
Okay, thank you. Administrator Kleindahl, is there any public comment from anybody in this room? Hearing none, Mr. Kleindahl, Mr. Thompson, have you received any letters or information for public comment?
I have not received anything.
Called 3 times, okay. 3 times for public comment. Anybody else want to make public comment? Anybody else wish to make public comment? Thank you. Okay. At this point, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Gardner and a
Second.
second by Commissioner Nissen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Now, we will continue discussion as a board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'll turn this over to Mark Thompson, Auditor Treasurer, to talk about resolutions A and B. But this will be a 2-step process. After this step, whatever option you choose, there'll be another discussion about the process. So, Mark, want to?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So we have 2 options to consider today. I've got included in your packets Resolution 2022-20, Option A, and Resolution 2022-20, Option B. As Larry mentioned, the resolutions pretty well summarize what he is talking about. The only difference between them is option A, as Administrator Kleindall mentioned, option A includes Mamre, St. John's, and Pennock moving from District 3 to District 5. Option B is St. John's and Pennock would move to District 5, and Mamre would remain in District 3. And to answer your question before, as far as the polling locations, they are included in the resolution. So that information is there if you have questions on those. Otherwise, yes, two options, A and B. Any other questions? I'd be happy to
Commissioners,
answer.
comments, questions? Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, is it proper now to make a motion, or is that okay, or, okay, I would like to make a motion then to adopt Resolution 2022-20, Option B.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Anderson, and second by Commissioner Endek. Any further discussion? No further discussion on this motion. My only other question I have, since I have not done a census, I've been here 10 years, do we have to have a roll call?
I don't think so, but
We can just vote. Okay.
sure.
Okay, I'll call for the vote at this point. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Okay, please proceed, Mr. Kleindall.
The next step is now, because of the motion you just made on Resolution 2022-20, Option B, it changes the district for the population in District 5 in a way that now that District 5 office is required to run even though their term is not completed. They are in the middle of a 4-year term. They're in the second year. But because of the change in the population under the rules, that District 5 will have to run again. The county board has an option of making this next election for District 5 a 4-year term or a 2-year term. I'd recommend, because he's in the middle of a 2-year term, and it balances out. Currently, we have elections, we have 3 1 year and 2 the other year. It just happens to be, this year would have been a 2-year, and the next term would have been a 3. All it does this year would be a 3 and a 3. So it makes the terms still equal and balanced, and wouldn't have a major turn. And I'd recommend then, because of that scenario, that we recommend that this term that would be up then would be for a 4-year term.
Mr. Chair,
Please,
I think,
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I probably made a mistake there, but Resolution 2022-20 does include what Larry is talking about there. So I should have mentioned that before you took a vote on it, but it does talk about reelection of commissioners in Districts 1, 3, and 5, and that they would be running for a
I
4-year
think
term.
do we need a separate vote on that then?
I think just to be clean,
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I'm not sure, two commissioners. Commissioner Gardner, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move that there would be an election of commissioners in Districts 1, 3, and 5 at the next general election, and the successful commissioners will hold the term for 4 years.
Commissioner Gardner made a motion, a second by Commissioner Emdek. Any further discussion? Commissioner Anderson, you do not want to run again in 2 years again? Okay.
Well, for whoever it would be, it's a lot of work, and so I just got done 2 years ago, and I was thinking I had 4 years, but it's a lot of work. So it'll be nice if whoever wins, they wouldn't have to run for 4 years. So.
Appreciate you being flexible. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously.
thanks, everybody, and thanks, public.
Well, I would also like to thank you, Mr. Kleindall and Mr. Thompson and the other staff and Karen, all involved in this, putting this together for the board. And I also like to thank the city of Wilmer and their involvement in this whole process. This was really a team process, and as you pointed out, the commissioners did not sit down and work this plan out to where we get to cover. So thank you again very much.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to move on to the next agenda item, and I would like to call on Candy County Public Works Director, Mel Oden.
Yep. Thanks, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We do have a bid letting. We have one bid letting today. It's for project SAP 34-601-038. It's for County Road 1 from our County Road 40 north up to County Road 9. So we got, or State 9, yep. We got 6 bidders, and we'll be reading them in alphabetical order. One thing to note that we do have a lot of bids, but we would like to evaluate the bids and see if we can come back at the end of the meeting today to award. So we'll just kind of see how it goes today, but that would be our desire. So the first bid is Central Specialties Incorporated out of Alexandria. Their bid total is $3,102,059.09. 3,102,059.09. The next bid is Dunnick Incorporated out of Princeburg. Their bid is $2,972,699.94. 2,972,699.94. The next bid is Kern and Taberry Incorporated out of Wadena, Minnesota. Their bid is $2,769,791.76. 2,769,791.76. The next bidder is Midwest Contracting out of Marshall, Minnesota. Their bid is $2,998,324.80. 2,998,324.80. The next bid is R&G Construction out of Marshall, Minnesota. Their bid is $2,609,059.04. 2,609,059.04. And the last bid is Riley Brothers Construction out of Morris, Minnesota. Their bid is $2,968,412.03. 2,968,412.03. That concludes the bids, Mr. Chair, and so we will take these back, review them, and we'll keep you posted on if we can, but we would like to make the award yet today if we could. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you all for coming, and if you wish to hang around, you're sure welcome to. Okay, next on the agenda, Mr. Odens, you have a final payment.
All right, Mr. Chair, I'm just going to gather my stuff just a little bit here. So you have in your packet, this is for the crack filling that was done last year. The crack filling was completed, and we did 495,214 linear feet. Jet Black of Wilmer was the contractor, and we're at the point where we can accept a project and make final payment. We're in agreement on all the numbers. So it's my recommendation to accept project CF 24-22 and authorize pay the $7,119.58, which is the final retainage.
Commissioner Nissen.
I also move.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen.
I'll second that.
And a second by Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussion, comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. And you're still on the agenda.
Okay, so, Mr. Chair, the next one in your packet is a consideration of award of our County Road 41 by the radio station. Fairgrounds, connects the radio station road to the fairgrounds. Bids were received in March, and we've also, and this is for a full depth reclamation of that road. And it's also, good, sure. Gonna be a little bit of a mess.
Center, no. Should I zoom out? Maybe a little bit?
No, that'll work. That works right there.
Okay.
Maybe there's maybe a couple things to note. I'm gonna do this.
Best laid plans.
Just, we're good.
There's a reason why that roll of paper is up there.
All right.
I think the audience will be interested not only in the awarding of the bid, but the project itself. I've had a lot of questions about
Just like that.
the timeline and the detours for this.
Correct. So, we opened bids in March. This is kind of an involved project because it's the piece between the lakes. And we do have a detour on it, and it involves some storm sewer, it involves the city, it involves, the fair, it involves a lot of stuff in the area. So the project starts up here basically at the College Road, just a little bit south of there, and then it continues almost to Park Avenue, which is the back door to the fairgrounds. It's a full depth reclamation, and what we are going to do is we're going to allow local traffic to the College Road and into the college. So it'll be signed accordingly, but if you want to get into Wilmer, you're going to need to go by the golf course, take Business 71, and then in. So that's going to be the detour for the project. And I believe it's set up to be completed by, I can't remember the date, but it's before August 1st.
So it will not interfere with the Candido County Fair.
That was the key. Yeah, we wanted to get in and get out. It's going to be a disruption, but it should be a pretty quick disruption. I think Jeremy's not here, but I know we were messing with the dates. I think we might even had it set up even earlier than
I thought I heard an earlier date of that as well. And also for everybody's information, is my understanding that for the Foot Lake 4, the walking path where they can run, they'll still be able to operate.
That will be open, yes.
That's what will
Yep,
still be
yep,
open as
yep,
normal.
yep.
Okay.
So it's my recommendation to award project 34-641-010 to Dunick Incorporated in the amount of $677,431.10. And we will bring the city is in agreement, so we will be on the April 19th board, a co-op agreement with the city for your consideration. So,
And you need a motion for that.
yes.
No, so moved.
Entertain a motion at this point?
No, so moved.
Commissioner Gardner moves. The chair will second this motion. Any further discussions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. I noticed that one came in.
And then we've got our County Road 44. This was in this, Riley Brothers did County Road 44 in the southern part of the county. This was a local option sales tax project. The project went very well. We'll be paving it this summer before the 4th of July. It's my recommendation to accept the project and authorize final payment in the amount of $16,831.63, which reflects the 1% retainage.
Also move.
Motion by Commissioner Gardner, a
I'll
second
second
by
that.
Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussions or comments about this? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mel, will you have pictures of these your projects you're finishing at our road and bridge meeting, so they,
Yeah, I can, yes, I will have a summary packet.
drone or
of everything.
whatever, pictures?
Yep, we will.
Thank you.
Yep.
And you got one more item.
I've got one more, Mr. Chair, and if you, maybe it would be good if we threw this up on the screen again there.
Okay,
It feels like we talk about it all the time, but I also, for the sake of the public, I just want to make sure there's no confusion. But we've been looking at doing the final push for this Wilmer Y project. We've gotten a lot of support. We're just looking for that gap of funding. And we try all the time, and it just seems like we just can't quite get to that finish line on that thing.
Close, yes.
But I just very so briefly, what we're talking about is this little corner right down here. And what we'd like to do is build this grade separation over the new railroad tracks. So the project and the discretionary money that we go after is nothing more than funding the gap to provide a grade separation at the bottom of the Wilmer Y. So that's it. Larry, maybe we can
Yep.
jump the screen unless you have questions.
Yes.
we want to make, Mr. Chair.
Please
We want to
proceed.
make sure we keep on notifying our legislators. This is such an important piece of, and we've been asking for this to be included in our bonding bill. And I think it gets passed over quite a bit in conversations. This is a really important piece, especially with the FedEx trucks there coming in. We got the milk trucks coming. We have other traffic. This really makes sense to allow those trucking industries easier access to our roads without coming to this heart of Wilmer. And so, even though it sometimes seems like something we always talk about, and so it's not important, don't take it for granted that they need to understand how important this piece is. It's extremely important, especially right now. There's money here. The longer it gets delayed, somebody else is, we're gonna have to pick up the funding somehow if that doesn't happen.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Amdak, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So to Administrator Kleindahl's point about the importance of it, we committed local option sales tax to cover half the cost of this. So we feel it's important. But on this raise grant, is that a federal grant?
It's a yes, it's correct, yes.
So do we or don't we know whether or not it's also a request in the bonding, current bonding bill?
Right now, it's not earmarked in the bonding bill, no.
In either the House
I have not seen.
or the
it.
governor's
Correct.
or the Senate,
That's
or
correct.
the Senate won't do it?
Okay.
Huh.
Any other questions from anyone? This would actually complete, as you both were talking, the board's been talking about this for a long time, like we said, and it's so important because it really completes that bypass around.
Right,
And I mean, the whole idea of the why kind of is part of that, and so crucial.
It completes a project that was proposed back in the 70s to bring Highway 12 around to collect with the 2371 bypass, and to getting the legislator I think our local guys got it figured out. It's just when they bring the bonding crew here, they say, well, there's nobody out there. You know, they come up with all kinds of reasons. So I've proposed and showed this off to people at the fair every year because it's a critical, especially, you know, we got the dairy coming up Highway 40 and that just gets them around Wilmer and it just makes a lot of sense. So
Okay.
anybody who has any influence with any legislator, give them another round because this has been way, way too long. The reason they piled all that dirt down there is because it was supposed to happen in the 70s. And that's all I have.
Okay,
So, Mr. Chair,
please proceed.
I'm a little confused here because it's not in the bonding bill, but yet we're talking to our legislators. And is there a chance yet that it can be added to the supplemental bill or put in an omnibus bill? And what happens then with this application? Do we just withdraw it?
You know, I'm gonna continue to monitor that. I haven't monitored that in the last few weeks, but because you want the governor's bill, the Senate bonding bill to see what they include if they earmark it out. I have not seen that yet. That doesn't mean I'm not gonna continue to push for it. And I think all of us need to continue to push for it because, quite honestly, for me, it's a little embarrassing that we spend $50 million to build a bypass to expand the industrial park, but yet we don't finish the kind of a critical little link. It's a hairpin turn for all these 18-wheelers, and I think everybody recognizes it. We're slated it for 2024 construction. I think until it gets a little closer, it feels like the importance must not be there or something.
So a follow-up question, thank you, Mr. Chair. Does this create further expense and work for staff to have to federalize it as opposed to?
By far. And that kind of goes right into my next part of this discussion, if I could so, Mr. Chair.
Please proceed.
So before you is a resolution that we use, and I apologize, we didn't get an electronic version in your packet, but what the federal government requires, just like any state government, is they need the elected body to show that the commitment for the financial match is there. Okay, so that's why they need a resolution. I've been on the phone, the local office of MnDOT as well as central office this week. I was on the phone this morning with Washington DC, US DOT, and what they're recommending is we make it specific to the RAISE grant. Well, there's 3 grants that we can apply for. And kind of going back to the Commissioner Imdek's comment, is this a lot of work? Yeah, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of calculations. There's a lot to federalize this and to apply. You need congressional members of support. You need cost benefit analysis. There's a lot of things. You need to upload the plans. And I'm not saying that we're not up for the task. I'm just saying that when there's other funds that never come through, it forces us as staff to, the county board committed in 2015 to put it as a 50% as a local option sales tax with us to pursue the gap, okay? Well, we've been feverishly pursuing the gap and just not to fruition. So that's why we want to do the next step of looking at the federal discretionary grants. But they're good with having a generic resolution. So what I talked to the administrator yesterday and I talked to him this morning, we can use the same resolution for whatever grant you're applying for in this fiscal year. If we would just reword the top to say U.S. Department of Transportation discretionary grant, we don't need to list it's the RAISE grant or the Tiger grant or the INFA grant or the CRISI grant or, because they're all discretionary grants. What the US DOT wants to see is, does this body vote to provide the match? That's what the resolution demonstrates. If this county board is good with that because the match is there with the sales tax, then they would suggest making it a generic resolution so that we're not coming to the county board all the time. You know what I mean? It can just be generic. Okay. They basically want to know the commitment of you guys, in this case, of the financial match. Okay. And I think we've got that.
So we have a request for resolution number 2022-18. I would entertain a motion at this point.
Do you want to have in that resolution removing the word raise?
Okay, if we could so allow staff to make it a generic resolution, does that make sense? We would reword the first 2 paragraphs.
Then you have to redo this and I sign it later.
Right, we would get it done yet today probably. Okay, we wouldn't have it like in the next 2 minutes.
My motion would be to strike raise and make it generic.
And this will be resolution 2022-18 by Commissioner Nissen. Do I have a second?
I'll second
A
that.
second by Commissioner Endak. Now, any further discussion on this? Commissioner Gardner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mel, so if I understand correctly what you're saying, we're providing 50% match? Or, because I see in the resolution, it says that those grants are limited to no more than 80%.
Right.
And that then our commitment would be for 20%. Do we know what that commitment from us is going to be?
So when we did the sales tax, we committed to 50% of the cost of the overpass, okay? Now, when I was talking to Washington this morning, they said, you know, if you, because of cost rising, you might want to apply for maybe 60%. You know what I mean? So that your 50% number is still 50% of the cost. You know, you know what I mean? They want you to be realistic. So when we say 50%, the application may be a number so that our commitment isn't any more than what we committed to 5 years ago.
Sure, and hopefully that makes us look better to the evaluators.
Actually, yeah, and there's preference on a higher match, so that looks very good. So we're in a good position. It's just that we just got to get one of these.
Well, I think it makes sense to follow this along a parallel track to working with our, with the legislature to still try to get this in the bonding bill, so.
Good question, Commissioner Gardner. Any further questions or comments from anybody? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Odens.
Yep, I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Next, I would like to call on Candioi County. Let's see who's up next here. Okay. Oh, you're going to take Val's spot? Okay, please proceed. This is a fire abatement.
Okay.
Please
Mr. Chair,
proceed.
Commissioners, again, Val couldn't be here today. She has her local boards happening. But the assessor's office received an application for a fire abatement for taxes, or an abatement of taxes due to a fire loss, complete loss. They received an application from Jason Crow. Location is 306 3rd Street, Southeast Pennock, Minnesota. On 3/19/21, they had a house fire. The whole structure was a total loss, and they were rebuilding on the same spot. The reduction in taxes would be for $1,366.50. The taxes were paid in full. So again, this would be a credit on their 2022 taxes due for $1,366.50. Any other questions? I can sure try to answer.
At this point, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I should mention it is for the rebate is for 9 months.
So would you word
9 months, the loss was for 9 months.
the losses for months? Okay, the motion is for a reduction in taxes of $1,366.50, and that recommends.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Anderson,
I will second
and a second by Commissioner Nissen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you very
Hey,
much,
thanks.
Mr. Thompson, for bringing that forward for us. It seems like a very fair thing to do when it comes to taxes, and something like that happens to your home. Next, I would like to call on Candioi County Sheriff, Mr. Eric Colleen. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning.
Morning, County Sheriff, Board, Minister Kleindl. Before you got is the federal boating supplemental equipment grant for this year, 2022. As you'll see, when we did our capital equipment decision-making for 2022, we put in for $65,000 for a boat. Due to the fact that the last year we were denied on a DNR grant. This year they approved it for $54,000. So Obviously, with inflation and everything, this would assist with that because it's now projected that that $65,000 boat is about $85,000. So, and equipment on top of that is increasing by 10 to 15% as well. So I would just ask for your guys' approval to accept the grant so we can move forward with it.
Okay, at this point, ask for a
So
motion.
move, Mr. Chair.
A motion by Commissioner Endek and a second by
Second.
Commissioner Gardner. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, pass unanimously. Thank you very much for bringing that forward. Okay, thank you. Have a good day. Next, I would call on Mr. Ingleby. Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, members, good morning and thank you for your time. I have before you this morning resolution number 2022-19. It is a simple formality for you 5 county commissioners to select one of you to sit on a joint drainage authority board that we'll share with Renville County. And that board will be officially formed sometime this summer.
Okay.
A little bit of the background is Renville County Drainage Authority ordered a redetermination of benefits on their county ditch number 99. During that process, the drainage viewers found that there was lands in Kansas County that drain into this Renville County ditch number 99. So therefore, there's a need to turn this into a joint county ditch system. You can see in your packet, I did include a aerial photo.
You want to put that on there for the public?
Sure. This ditch system and its watershed is in the southern part of our county, of course, we share with Renville County. It's right on the county line, just east of Highway 71, as shown here, the boundary in yellow. There are approximately 17 property owners and just under 1,300 acres that do currently drain into the Renville County ditch number 99. I have notified all of those property owners of what's happening to get ahead of this so there's no surprises. And I've had a couple phone calls, but I think a lot of those property owners understand, being in a watershed and paying ditch assessments is kind of the norm nowadays. So the resolution I have before you, as I said earlier, simply just selects one of you to sit on this board to represent Kansas County residents. My recommendation would be Commissioner Anderson. It's in his district, and I think he'd be a good person for that position if he wants it.
Yeah.
I would move,
It's in my district.
Are you willing to
Anderson.
accept that nomination? Okay.
I would move Mr.
A
Anderson.
motion by Commissioner Endek to approve, a second by Commissioner Nissen. Any further discussion? I did have one question on the resolution. You had a roll call vote listed. Does this require a roll call vote?
Perhaps we should.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'll call for the vote, and I'll call your name off. Please reply as to A or nay, or abstain. Commissioner Anderson.
Yay.
Commissioner Berg, A. Commissioner Gardner.
Aye.
Commissioner Emdek.
Aye.
Commissioner Nissen.
Aye.
5 yeas or 5 ayes, and it passed unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Ingleby, for bringing this forward, and thank you, Commissioner Anderson, for accepting one more responsibility on your plate. And I'm sure you'll do a good job at that, so thank you. And thank you for bringing this forward.
Should we do the signatures now and be done?
I got them here. I'll let you two.
Yeah. Can I, well,
What do you want to do?
yeah, why don't I just wait and I can give them to Mel, he can bring them back to you at the end of the meeting. Sure.
Yeah.
The front pages.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you again. At this point, I'd like to call on Kansas County Environmental Services Director, Mr. Gary Gear. Good morning, Gary. Welcome.
Thank you.
You
Oh, yeah.
look a little different than last time, I think I saw
Well, when you
you.
look good, you feel good.
Yeah, you look terrific.
Manny's Renwear.
You said different, not
Yeah, different. Oh, boy. Let's stick to the agenda, I think.
Yeah, okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Gary Garrett, Canada County Environmental Services Director, here presenting the request to award the landfill contract, LFD CAP 22. Proposals were received for this project, which includes portion of final cover placement over the demolition and construction debris, as well as other restoration throughout the landfill and general operations. So based on a review from staff and from ECAD Engineering, the proposals were reviewed, and it is being recommended that the contract be awarded to Swenson and Sons Construction in the amount of $464,485.50. And that would be the request before you.
Okay, thank you. We got a request for a motion. To entertain a motion at this point to approve.
Also move.
A motion by Commissioner Gardner
I'll second
and a
that.
second by Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussion or questions of Mr. Gear? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks for
Chairman.
coming forward. Appreciate it
Gary.
very much.
That's where those 4 cents go to for.
And at this point, we're coming to near the end of our agenda, and I'd like to ask Administrator Kleindl if you have any administrative updates.
If you don't mind, I'll do it right
Oh,
from
please
here.
do.
Just one update, where our Emergency Operations Center is working with the Minnesota Board of Animal Health and USDA regarding the bird flu. Working hard to make sure we're in partnership and helping set up and provide facilities to help work with them. And so we've been doing that work as well. And so the numbers increase, it wasn't ever a question if it was going to happen, the question is
When.
when. And as you're noticing, that's taking place right now.
We're
We-
just lucky we have this wonderful facility that we can do this
Yeah.
and staff.
And we're hoping, I think the farmers and our producers are much better prepared than they were in 2015. But it is still a disease that affects the flocks when it's there. And so we have to do they have to do the right thing and make sure they're managing it. And I think they are doing a very good job. There's communications out there where people can call if they got questions and stuff as well. So we're working on that. Also, Mel and I would like to have you look at your calendars, looking at May 4th. I think I sent an email out to everybody asking if May 4th at 8:30 would work. I think we'd try to be done by 11:30, because we also have an event later that day on monuments that the county surveyor is doing, so you can see what they look like. But May 4th at Public Works from 8:30 to 11:30 approximate.
Yep.
Anything
Mr.
else?
Chair, that would be the outside numbers. We would hopefully be done before that, but we would like to start at 8:30.
Okay. Apparently no objections, anybody, is there?
So I just wanted to confirm that, because we had sent emails out and everybody was pretty good at it.
Everybody's nodding. Please proceed.
So May 4th at 8:30 for the public, and we'll send, the public notice will be going out on that. Next thing I'd like to talk about is the ARPA. I'd like to set up a work session. We've been talking about that at some time, and I'd like to, take an hour and a half, just to kind of see what some of your preferences are now. You've had the opportunity to kind of study that, see handouts as it goes back and forth. I believe I sent emails regarding from NACO about ARPA. And so I was wondering if we could do it in May. I have a couple of dates that we could look at. And I don't know if you want me to just throw out dates or times, or we're looking at an hour and a half time period. And so if you want it, we could do it on the 5th, 9th, 10th, 11th. The 31st of May is the 5th Tuesday. When you have a 5th week in a,
I'd rather not have it on that.
Yeah.
okay.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Andek, please proceed.
is there any appetite for May 3rd, breaking for lunch and then coming back after lunch and doing it then. Somebody might have meetings, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, either that or May 17th. And we are, in May, we're going to be going, our board meetings are going to start at 9 o'clock too. So could we incorporate that at the end of the board meeting? Or that can be too long a day?
No, so, Mr. Chair,
Please proceed.
so I had thought about the May 3rd times and the 17th. I just don't know, because we're starting at 9 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock, I didn't know what time would be done. And so for some of you, if we have it in the afternoon, you could end up hanging around town or here for a couple hours.
Yeah,
Could we, Mr. Chair?
We could do it at 11 o'clock.
Mr. Emdek.
The question for everybody is, could we be flexible? I don't know if there's any public or legal reasons why we could we be flexible enough that if we're done with our regular work by,
That's
say, 10:45 or 11 o'clock, that we could do it and then take late lunch or just work a
We
little
could.
into lunch hour?
Or just recess and then come back to, yes.
What's the board think? I could schedule for May 3rd at 11 o'clock.
That'd be my preference.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah, and just call it a work session, because work session was more informal. It's
Yeah.
not as informal motions.
it's probably hard to tell at this point, the agenda, you know, if there's major things on it yet.
Right,
Yeah, hard to
I
tell,
just don't
okay.
know. Is that okay? Is everybody scheduled from 11 o'clock as a work session, 11 to 12 or 11 to 12:30? Just do a late lunch?
I think that works just fine for me.
Okay,
Sounds fair enough.
Everybody's nodding, okay, great. Well,
thank you.
we've been
That's all I have,
talking about doing this, and I'm glad you brought that up.
At least have conversations.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Odens, were you going to bring back the bids today?
Mr. Chair, I've been in, we're not done yet, so I don't know if you want to take a, do.
They could do their
all
committee
All
reports.
the
Okay,
committee
we can
reports and
continue on.
maybe
I
take a
just
quick
didn't want to
break.
skip over that.
And I'm thinking if we could shoot for the 11:30 timeframe, 11:20, if that's, but let me make a quick.
Yeah, we can just take a recess after our reports and we'll see. We got plenty of time for reports today, yes. Okay. Along that same line, does anybody on the board have any appointments they want to chair or any other calendar concerns coming up? And here-
Mr. Chair, you have an appointment for HRA.
Yes, I do. Yep, working on that one. At this point then, I would like to have committee updates, and I would like to start with Commissioner Gardner, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Plenty of meetings, obviously. Before I get into that a little bit, I do wish to request to be excused from our next board meeting. Out-of-town medical appointments necessitate that. The intergovernmental meeting was a nice discussion with our peers from the city of Wilmer and the school district. Meeting with the Wilmer Main Street Board. Again, not an official board appointment, but something of interest to me. Chaired the last meeting of the Kandiyohi County Drug-Free Coalition. And I don't have it in front of me, but I know that there is a drug take-back event happening, I believe, this month. And I believe the Sheriff's Department, as well as the coalition website, would have that information at the ready. Sitting now on the EDC Business Retention and Expansion Committee. That was my first meeting of that committee that I attended. And, looking forward to many more. Humane Society of Kandiyohi and Meeker County meeting. We're having some discussions about potential projects, and we may have more to bring forward on that in the future. We'll see what happens there. West Central Industries, I did want to briefly touch on that. Overall, the WCI's finances are coming back more in line with what they were pre-pandemic, and that's even without the county recycling contract. So that's a positive. But we do have one issue that just came up in an email that was that was shared by the executive director. And perhaps those of you who serve on CCT might be able to weigh in on this as well. But we recently learned that CCT will have to charge West Central Industries to deliver Meals on Wheels. There is an entity competing against West Central Industries in that space, which has more funding to provide the service. It's an open question as to whether or not WCI would be able to continue offering that service at this time. And there will be more to be shared with our board at our next meeting. So just something to keep on your radar. Allied Radio Emergency Services attended that meeting during our Leadership Summit event last Wednesday. And then, of course, the Leadership Summit. I thought Commissioner Nissen and Commissioner Anderson and myself were there, and I think it was quite a useful time. I was hoping for a little deeper dive personally into some leadership skills, but overall, it was a worthwhile event. Yesterday was the reboot meeting for Kandiyohi County Rural Child Care Innovation Programming. This is the group that, among other things, helped get the child care project up in Spicer for the YMCA up and running. There's still, of course, the pandemic has affected some of that run out of that project. But they're beginning to look again at ways of decreasing the gap. There's a real need for childcare within our county. We're nearly 700 spaces short. Providers are being called multiple times a day asking if they have openings, and they just don't. In the meantime, we're having other providers leaving that space altogether. And part of it isn't that they, don't want to do the work, and certainly they know they're not going to get rich on this, but reimbursements are not keeping up, and the cost to families needing childcare just continues to rise. So we've got a real crisis on our hands, and that was clear through the meeting yesterday. And I'm hopeful that we can potentially bring some resources to bear on that in due time. And I came to the end of my notes. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much for the update. Commissioner Nissen.
Okay, well, we had a Woodland Centers meeting, and unlike the end of last year, the numbers are looking better from December into January. And so that's an improvement that was much more fun to make that treasurer's report at that meeting. The director is talking with Sanford Health out of Bemidji, and I don't know, she hasn't really made a statement as to what they're really looking for there, but they've reached out to Woodland and seeing if there's things that we can maybe do together to accomplish better care. There's a little concern on the part of most of the board that Sanford Health is a big operation, and we would have to watch and know a lot more before we make that decision. Glacial Ridge Scenic Byway, we've been meeting at various places in the different counties that are involved in the byway. Douglas County, we met at the Runestone Museum up by Kensington. We met here at the Prairie Woods, and Pope County decided we should meet at the Rolling Forks Winery south of Glenwood, which was an interesting place. And but we worked serious work revamping our corridor management plan. It wasn't a party by any means. I want people to know that. Prairie Woods Environmental Learning Center, the new manager is taking charge, and she conducted the first meeting. I thought everything went fairly smooth. I'll let Roger maybe fill in some of the blanks on that. The Highway 23 annual meeting was held in Waite Park, which I put a lot of miles on the car last month with the legislative thing and the one up in Nisswa and a few other things.
Park Rapids, I think?
Yeah, Park Rapids with the Prime West thing. That was so a lot of miles. Or whoever takes care of that, Tom. Yeah, you'll say what? But anyway, it's routine. We talked about the need for continuing to work on filling other gaps and making this truly a corridor from Sioux Falls to Duluth. And that would benefit all of us along the line. There's a lot of work and a lot of money that's going to take to get that done, and I don't know if any of our lifetimes whether that'll happen, but it's a goal that we continue to work towards. CPT, counties providing technology. For those who don't know what CPT stands for, we had a resignation of one of our co-directors, Gwen Gillespie. She took another job in Morris. That's the second time, I think, that Superior has swiped one of our employees. But that'll make an interesting discussion as how we're going to proceed on our executive director, if we're going to have the remaining one, Mike, take that full, or we haven't even talked about it yet, so I'm just filling in some blanks. The tax rewrite is on schedule supposedly, so hopefully that'll continue to go well. Even losing Gwen could be a problem there as well. She was one of the people that were working the hardest on that. So the workshop up in Nisswa, the leadership workshop, I thought it was interesting, as well as Mr. Gardner, Bambi versus Godzilla, how to deal with difficult people and get results. It was amusing, and yet it was to the point. Talked about working co-workers, equal but different. They talked about the way women look at things versus the way men look at things, and when you're supervising, you need to take those things into account. So anyway, that was a good meeting and a lot of information. And yesterday we had our broadband, and I continue to be disappointed in the pace of the State Broadband Commission and the way they beat around the bush and we don't even have the material to put in an application. It sounds as though it's going to be difficult to get anything, in my district anyway, in the ground this year. And so the frustration is immense on my part on that. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Nissen. Commissioner Anderson.
Okay, since our last board meeting on the 15th, I had a Pioneer Land Library system meeting. We ended up, on that meeting, we ended up signing an agreement with a dispatcher or whatever for the library system. And it's not really the best of terms, but it's like the only option we had at the moment. We had put in for other people to give quotes for how much it would cost to deliver books and different supplies between all the 32 different libraries. And we hadn't heard back from anybody else. Hopefully we're going to get back from somebody. We do have a 30-day withdrawal agreement in the contract that we entered into, so we can back out of it. It just takes 30-day notice. The reason why we're not too happy with it is they have basically a gas or mileage surcharge, which is really expensive, and we're hoping to get a couple different quotes also to kind of look into it a little further, so that maybe we could save a little money there. That was kind of the big discussion at that meeting. On the 23rd, it was a Zoom meeting. with the South Fork, Crow River, one watershed, one plan type of meeting. And basically that was just for basically new commissioners like myself who hadn't been involved yet with any kind of planning for that type of setup. And it was Houston Engineering that put it on, and then they just kind of gave us a overview of how the project will be moving forward and types of discussions we can be having in the future. And that'll take place over the next couple of years for the South Fork Crow River. Later that day, we had a aquatic invasive species meeting, or I did. The problem with that one, that was up in Spicer. We were lacking 2 members, so we didn't have a quorum. So we could still have a meeting, but we couldn't make any decisions. So hopefully at our next meeting, enough people show up, because we have to make some decisions in May, because you got summer coming on and everybody wants to do their projects on the lakes. So that was that one. Unfortunately, not enough showed up. And then on the 24th, it was I had a UCAP meeting, which is United Community Action Partnership. And that was a Zoom meeting, pretty much a routine meeting. But at the end of that, we decided that's going to be our last Zoom meeting. And so in the future, it'll be meeting in person, which will be nice. I've been on the board now almost 2 years. And it'll be the first time I get to meet the people that I've been meeting via Zoom, which Zoom meetings are okay, but there's really, you can't really replace a personal or in-person type of meeting. It just will be nice to be able to meet in person. The downside to that is the next meeting will be in Redwood Falls, which is about 45 miles away from me. And then I think we're talking about meeting in different locations through the next several months. One of those meetings will be down in Jackson, Minnesota, which will be quite a long haul. And with the Zoom meetings, they last about 2.5 hours, and they get over by 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. And, so I'll be it'll be some late nights when I return finally, but that's part of the job, and that's all right. It's just, it'll be quite a change is what's coming up. And I as well went up to Nisswa to that Association of Minnesota Counties Leadership Conference, and I found it was very interesting as well. And I think Commissioner Nissen gave a very good overview of how what all went on there. And then in April, yesterday, which was the 4th, I had a Vision 2040 meeting here in Wilmer, and basically we were the main discussion is what do we do going forward? Do we sit back, or do we or put it kind of on hold? We're kind of hit a wall, I guess, on new ideas and where the way forward with Vision 2040. One thing I thought was interesting was when they were talking about all the projects that they had done in the past, it was quite significant. And like I say, I'm still a new county board member. I didn't know all these things that they had done. And so, I mean, they've helped get parks started, like a dog park in Wilmer was one, I believe, and many others. And so I've suggested at the meeting that maybe the newspaper could do an article reviewing that, and it would be very informative for the public. And that's it for me.
That's a lot. Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Endek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to go backwards probably just because I'm sure Commissioner Nissen did not intend, if somebody takes it that the Office of Broadband is dragging their feet on these permits. It has more to do with U.S. Treasury and some of the rules regarding ARPA dollars, as well as perhaps the legislature not defining some of the rules regarding where we can apply for a border-to-border grant. The good news is that they're considering raising the grants to $10 million from $5 million. And what was the other part of that?
The match.
And changing the match a little bit, so the match would be a smaller. We're making some progress, but it doesn't look like, other than projects that are being initiated by providers, that are already existing and nearby. There won't be much construction this summer based on border grants, because it'll be September, construction season will be over with by the time we can apply. So as long as I'm going backwards, I too attended the annual meeting of the Highway 23 Coalition. We had a Prairie Woods Environmental Learning Center Governing Board, as Commissioner Nissen pointed out. Last Friday, or no, not last Friday, the 18th, I had Association of Minnesota Counties Board of Directors meeting. And I think I sent out, or had them send out to everybody the Julie Ring's summary of that meeting. And then we had a Prairie Woods Environmental Learning Center executive meeting. It may possibly be the last executive meeting that I participate in, because the question came up is, why are there two county board members on the executive committee? And the bylaws say nothing about the necessity of county commissioners being on the executive committee. Traditionally, the executive committee is the chair, the vice chair, and perhaps the manager. So I think it might have to do with cutting the end of the ham off, or end of the ham off at Easter time, is why the Board of Commissioners have always been on there. Raul, you're not going to ask me about cutting the end of the ham off?
You didn't, you left before you had a chance to explain that.
So when we were first married,
Yeah.
we were getting ready for Easter, and Judy says, Roger, go cut the end of the ham off so we can start dinner. And I said, well, why do we cut the end of the ham off? And she said, well, Mom always cut the end of the ham off. So I went in the next room and I said, Doris, I said, how could we cut the end of the ham off before you cooked it at Easter time? She says, well, I cut the end of the ham off because my mom always cut the end of the ham off. So Anna was sleeping in the next room. When she got up from her nap, I said, Anna, I said, why did you cut the end of the ham off? She said, well, I cut the end of the ham off because it didn't fit in my roaster. So we often do it just because we've done it, and so they have no history that governing. Now, perhaps, were you here when Prairie Woods got started?
No.
Okay, so it might have just been a suggestion, being the property is owned by the county, that we should be on there, but there's nothing in the bylaws that say it should be sold, so that's probably where we're.
Interesting, I didn't know that. Okay, I'm last, and I had several meetings as well. I was involved in the intergovernmental meeting with Commissioner Gardner, and that was a very good meeting, a very good exchange between the different agencies. I had a Prairie Lakes Youth Program board meeting, and that's the joint powers with 5 other counties for the juvenile detention center we have here. And we're still struggling at times. We have a lot of needs. We lost 13,000 last month, but we're doing a lot better than we have in the past. But we do have some other issues coming up now for, we needed a new boiler, and the vehicles, unfortunately, over the years have not been replaced, and we have to get some new vehicles. So we've been doing some planning and serious budgeting as well. But it's moving along good. We have a great new director that we're really lucky to have. So I'm feeling very positive about that organization. I had an EDC committee meeting, and this was the Business Retention and Expansion / Recruitment Committee, and got a lot of updates and talked about some other plannings with Ridgewater College, as well as an update of the Elevate class, and they have 12 students at this point. It was a very good meeting. It was a very good group, and we reviewed the open house, and there's also a job fair coming up. I had a Southern Prairie Community Care meeting, and as you know, that is programmers are trying to close that down, but we're waiting for the final close to hear about Prime West. And we have to have an annual meeting. Really nothing new on that, other than the concern is what's going to happen with Prime West, and that we'll probably end up having a meeting maybe near the end of the summer. Hopefully we'll know something before then, and it'll be our final meeting for that committee. I did have a chance to attend an open house with Public Works, and this was on Candido County Road, 119, right?
119, yes.
119, and some major changes taking place there. And it was very interesting to drop in there and see the interaction with all the staff. Just great customer service. I was shocked of all the people that showed up for it and interested and wanting to know how it's going to affect their farm place. And on the spot, I noticed that taking a pencil and eraser out and changing some things. Oh, this field needs an entrance here instead of there then, and being very open to changes to that plan. The plan was on a table probably about as long as this table here. I don't know how you could get a plan that good, but a lot of details in it and very, very well done. It was very interesting. Good to have those kind of meetings for open houses. I had a lot of library meeting, and that's a quarterly meeting, and we have not been opening a lot of library because of the courts and COVID, and they're very cautious about that. The courts are getting, back to full speed more, and we made a decision to open the law library to the public at this point. So we talked about that. We talked about reviewing the direction of the library since things have changed a lot over the years. And it's not just attorneys using it, but it's really getting very focused on public and people from the public being involved in that. So we got some good people on that right now. Had a CCT, or our local transportation program, building committee meeting, and Commissioner Anderson and myself will sit on that committee. We've been talking about that. There's some options to get some dollars because the building and the space they have and growth, they need something new, and there are some monies available. The concern is that we would stand to get some dollars, but with inflation, they probably wouldn't do the job. But we're still looking at moving ahead and see if we can get some additional dollars for that. Part of that, having a new building, by new building, I'm looking at a new place. And as the board probably knows, we're looking at the recycling building as remodeling that or starting from scratch to build new. But it sounds like it's going to it's going to be a tough decision. We have not got information back about the recycling building plan to remodel that and see what the cost would be. We should have that information in a couple of weeks. So, because at this point, I think the county wants to do something with the recycling building, make some permanent decisions on that. But hopefully, we'll have another committee meeting within a couple of weeks if needed. But we sure should know at that point that we could make a decision on the recycling building. Several of us were on the Association of Minnesota County Legislative Zoom updates yesterday, and a lot's going on. This is one legislative year, even though we hear this didn't happen or this doesn't look good for us right now, there's still a lot of action taking place. We'll have to see, I guess, how it all comes out the last week or last few days of the legislative session. Legislative update. Okay, I think I covered everything. I just want to remind the public, more so than the board, I think the boards are well aware of it. Tomorrow there's going to be an open house for the 4-lane at Roscoe, and they're going to go over the process for that and the timeline as well as the detour process. And that's at Roscoe from, is it 4 to 6?
4 to 6.
4 to 6, okay. And then the ribbon cutting for the project is going to be May 6th. Okay. At this point, I have nothing else on my calendar. Any update at this point as far as the bidding process?
No?
No.
No.
Any?
I thought you said business. No, I texted them a couple times. It's a good problem, but we had 6 bidders, and so we're going to need to wait. We're still going through all the numbers. So the critical part of why we want to do it is because we want to get the supply chain on our concrete and metal pipe is so long that even waiting 2 weeks hurts, so we may need to discuss that with the low bidder, so.
So you're saying we'll have to wait
Well,
on this until our next board
April
meeting,
19,
or
unless
we
you
could
want to take,
recess for
I could
a few
call him
more
if you want to take a
minutes?
10-minute recess. I mean, I could,
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yeah, Commissioner Mdek.
These usually come as resolutions, right, to us? with
to
award?
award, yeah.
Or
Or no, we can,
authorize staff to award the bid, or, no?
No,
so the good thing is that the bids are good bids. We're about 100,000 over on a $3 million project. So it's not like it's high over, it's 1% over. So we feel good about it but we just need, we just need to go through the numbers.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
I
Mr. Emden.
agree, though, about the supply chain issue. We want to get this in the hands of the successful bidder as quick as possible, so they
we wait
start
15 minutes.
mobilizing.
Are you here for the bid?
If you guys can take a 10,
Oh.
If you wanna take a 10-minute
I'm sorry, I thought you were one of the bidders.
Mr. Chair, why don't we take it?
Yes,
Break,
okay.
and then we'll come
Why don't we take a 10, 15-minute break and recess and
Okay.
Oh, that's a good.
Yeah, wait.
understand where you talking.
And this resolution.
Yeah, I have to spend
Control
the
room?
evening filing them.
We're ready here as well, so Mel, if you.
I'm ready.
You're gonna just do it right there?
I can just do it.
Okay. So Corky, you need to do a countdown. 3, 2, 1.
Everybody call the Candioi County Board of Commissioners back in session. I'd like to call in Mr. Odens.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, we were able to get through the bids for our County Road 1 construction. So we did have good bids this morning, and it's our recommendation to award it to RNG Construction out of Marshall, Minnesota in the amount of $2,609,059.04 to 609,059.04. Incidentally, that's 3.7% over the bids, over the engineer's estimate, I mean, which we feel pretty good about actually because of how bids have been coming in. So anyway, so that's our recommendations, RNG Construction.
And that is the lowest bidder. And thank you very much. Now we need a motion to approve this.
Yes.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Enda. And a second by Commissioner Essen. Any further discussion, comments?
Just wondering if you think we can get our asphalt bids in at 3%.
Yeah,
No, they were a little higher.
yeah. We won't talk about those, huh? No. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously, thank you. And no more comments from anybody, and we'll finally close the meeting. Hereby close the Candioi County Board of Commissioners.